So let's talk about current Xbox growth. Yes, growth, not a decline as some people seem to suggest. Xbox is actually doing quite alright, but they sure can do better in the future. Let's look into it. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I would like to talk about state of Xbox, but as a division, not just as a console, because people seem to focus too much on the console side of the business and it's just part of the whole Xbox business, right? And if you look at the Xbox division as a whole, Xbox is actually doing quite alright. Now, obviously, let's talk about the elephant in the room first, because people tend to, focus mostly on that. So Xbox console sales. Yeah, Xbox sales actually kind of flatline. I mean, yes, the number of consoles sold in Europe actually, when it comes to year-over-year sales, actually went down a bit, quite a bit. But it was mainly due to the fact that Xbox was actually selling quite all right, in first, I guess, 2-3 years. Now these numbers are actually falling down. I mean, they go down for all consoles, to be honest with you. It's just Xbox is being affected by it, big time. So overall, I think when it comes to console sold, Xbox is kind of really around the same numbers that Xbox One did last generation, around the same time through the generation. So it's not as bad as people suggest. We all expected Xbox to not sell that great. I mean, I was actually expecting it to sell better than Xbox One for sure, but in the current climate, looks like that's not really going to happen. Although things may still change, and I'll talk about it in a minute. I'll talk about the future of Xbox. But yeah, that's the console. Xbox is still selling, right? I mean, there's still demand for the console, but Xbox have not been focusing on Xbox console that much, not just for the last year. It's been for really half of even last generation, to be honest with you, putting games on PC and that kind of stuff. So they, even back then, they realized that, they cannot focus on consoles alone, and they are selling more and more games on PC. And but even from consoles perspective, the number of console users in Xbox ecosystem is growing. So even though they are not selling as many consoles as they would like to sell, the number of active users on Xbox console alone is actually growing. So there's growth there too. It's just that a lot of people are still using Xbox One, Xbox One S, Xbox One X. I mean, Jez Corden recently even reported that there's people still using Xbox 360 for some gaming, and these people are still being monetized, because it's not only about people turning their console on and doing nothing on it. It's also about monetization, right? And people are still playing some online games on Xbox 360 and they are being monetized, right? I mean, I guess by Xbox Live or whatever, one way or the other. So these numbers are actually still growing. So there's people still playing on Xbox 360, Xbox One, and then you get more and more people buying Xbox consoles, right? I mean, I'm not saying that there's increase in number of percentage of sales and that kind of stuff, but overall the Xbox console user base is growing when combined, right? And it's also when it comes to PlayStation, right? It's the same thing there. Was it like a month, 2 months ago? There was a report talking about the fact that, and it was official data from Sony. They reported that over 2 million people still played games on their PlayStation 3s, right? And to be honest with you, I was one of them too, because I still got my PlayStation 3 and I actually play some games on it once for a while. I even bought some games for PlayStation 3 in a PlayStation 3 store. So you see, that's the way it works. So from business perspective, it still works. But there's other growth there too, like Xbox Game Pass is growing, right? It's not growing at the pace that, some people were expecting, including myself, but they still, growing. Now they are adding games, some games on PlayStation, so there's going to be growth there too, business-wise, right? It's still debatable how that will work in a long run, because obviously people keep coming back with the same narrative that all Xbox games going to be on PlayStation at some point, and I don't really believe it. I'm sure there's going to be more Xbox games on PlayStation, not just these 4. But really don't expect every single Xbox game to be on PlayStation. Jez Corden, in one of the most recent podcasts, he even said that he don't believe to ever see games like Halo, Gears, Forza on PlayStation. These staple kind of Xbox games, you're probably not going to see them on PlayStation ever. Some other games from other publishers like Bethesda, Activision. Activision games going to be pretty much all games going to be day one for sure. I'm not so sure about Bethesda. When it comes to Bethesda, there's probably going to be some time exclusivity when it comes to these games, probably. And it also depends on what type of game we're talking about, because I think that live service games, games as service, these games may be day one, like games from ZeniMax, for example. So all these online games, obviously Call of Duty, day one on PlayStation 2. So it's going to be a mix of different games, and some games will make its way to PlayStation day one, while others will make its way later. And there's still going to be some games never coming to PlayStation. It's just, I think it only makes sense. But so generally speaking, Xbox is actually doing quite all right. I'm still very curious of their future Xbox strategy when it comes to consoles. Like PC-wise, we know what's going to be happening there. I'm just curious whether they really whether they are really planning to open the Xbox ecosystem for other stores and that kind of stuff, because Phil Spencer spoke about it. Too, there's talk about handheld, Xbox handheld. There's a number of prototypes in the works apparently already. Obviously, prototypes don't necessarily mean final products, but looks like they are, they are trying to build something there. So whether it will work or not, we will have to wait and see. But I'm also very curious of the Xbox Game Pass growth once the Activision games will hit Xbox Game Pass. Also, Blizzard games too, like Diablo 4 is actually in Xbox Game Pass right now as we speak. So, these are huge games, and also, I think Diablo 4 has online component there too. So, these type of games are being played all the time, and there's extra content once for a while as well. So, and there's going to be more and more games in Game Pass. So, I wonder how will that affect Xbox Game Pass numbers, Xbox console sales numbers too. Because let's face it, even now people say, oh, Xbox don't sell, but to be honest with you, this year was rather quiet for Xbox, right? They had some good sales numbers at the end of last year, but now but they had games, Starfield, Forza, and a couple of other titles. Now, there's since January there was nothing. The very first Xbox game to release, it's going to be Hellblade 2 in May. So yeah, Phil was talking about spreading all these games out throughout the year, but looks like they failed this year, right? And I'll probably make another video about it because it's a very interesting subject, right? I mean, they really have to fix that, that's for sure, because not having a game for like 5 months, I mean, it's not like there's no other games for Xbox, but you know what I mean, like first party or second party games. Like people laugh at PlayStation. Oh, PlayStation don't have any first party games, but I mean, who cares? There's other games exclusively for PlayStation. There's Final Fantasy. I mean, 16 was it? No, that was last year. So there's Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. There's Stellar Blade. Sorry. There's Rise of Ronin, and it's just end of March. So 3 big games, and on top of that, they got all these Xbox games too. So that's actually funny too. So anyway, listen, Microsoft needs to fix that too, and I think that as soon as we will see more consistency from Xbox when it comes to these game releases, because this year just goes to show that like there's not going to be anything major except Hellblade 2 in the first half of the year, and looks like the second half of the year is going to be packed with content. I understand that it's not as easy as just to say, oh, let's just spread it out, because games need to be finished first, and certain titles were delayed, like Stalker 2, for example. If Xbox got Stalker 2 in February and then Hellblade 2 in May, I mean, nobody would really complain much about it, but that's not what happened, right? And there's other games coming, but like I said, I'll make another video very soon about it because it's an interesting topic, so I wanted to address. But generally speaking, future of Xbox is looking pretty good. I know that the Xbox as a console is not really going to be selling that great. I mean, let's face it, I think they kind of reached their height with Xbox 360, and I think, genuinely speaking, thinking about consoles right now, Xbox consoles sales, thinking about 60-70 million consoles sold throughout the generation is kind of like a peak for Xbox right now. I mean, I think like they sold like 60 million Xbox One consoles, Xbox One S and X combined. So yeah, I mean, they could do similar numbers like this generation too, especially if they start releasing more and more games. That's possible, and as soon as they release cheaper versions of the consoles, that may actually happen too. So 60 million still a lot of consoles. Even 50 million, that's still a lot of consoles, to be honest with you, right? I mean, there were consoles on the market back in the days that sold less and were called successful. So that's why I don't understand. I understand that there's constant need for growth and selling more and more, but as long as the business is sustainable, it's not losing money. I mean, like there's nothing really to worry about, to be honest with you. But hey, so that's the video. Guys, let me know what you think about it. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.